Hey guys, so I wanted to come on here and give you my thoughts on last week's Dark Side of the Ring episode on Bam Bam Bigelow. And I will say that I liked it. It was actually pretty good. Um, long story short uh, on this, um, basically, he was a wrestler in high school, and essentially he was the kind of wrestler who, where even if he got injured or something like that, all he had to do was look intimidating to his potential opponent, and that's all they needed for him to potentially win a match or something. Um, the people they had in this were, talking head wise, as some people call it. The people they had were his ex-wife, his sons, I believe, and his daughter. And along with them, they had Diamond Dallas Page, Taz, they had Dave Meltzer, I think, and I don't know who else they had. Oh, Shane Douglas. They had Shane Douglas. So they had people that worked with Bam Bam, and of course, family wise, knew him outside the ring. Um, the episode, like I said, was good. They touched upon the fact that he did some of these other jobs outside of wrestling or before wrestling. And what was interesting to me is he met his history, Dallas Page, DDP, and I was surprised that he knew Dallas. Even before Dallas really got into the business, like Dallas Page tried to get into the business as much as he could. As much as he could earlier on, but then something happened to where he's like, he got injured, and it's like he just couldn't do it anymore. So he went to running clubs. He was running clubs on the Jersey Shore, and one of them was called Club Xanadu, and that's where he first met Bam Bam. And they just talked, and that's how Bam Bam kind of got the itch to go and to wrestle. So, long story short, he ended up at Larry Sharp's Monster Factory, and pretty much the rest is history. And Larry Sharp, historically, and you can find this on YouTube here, was his first manager. He first manager in the Memphis region. So they showed earlier clips of his matches from the CWA and such and everything when he started out. And the one thing they were always constantly praising in this was his athleticism for a big man, for a man his size, and that basically this got him noticed by WWE, by WWF as they were known at the time, and Vince McMahon, and brought him in. He was like about maybe 2 years into his career, and they brought him in and shot him straight to the top to be side by side with the likes of Hulk Hogan and such. And if you remember watching WWF at that time and everything, and I do apologize for any lag or something like that. My computer's deciding it wants to load and do a location right now deal, so I do apologize for that. But anyway, like I said, basically they touched upon the fact that he was, he got signed to WWF, WWE, WWF about 2 years into his career, and that basically, he was thrust right into the top into the main event scene, and that they basically, and that the way they did this, from what they said, and again, this is something you can find on YouTube as well as on Peacock. I'm sure they have it on Peacock, in various old school WWF superstar episodes. But basically, you had all the heel managers vying for Bam Bam services, and Bam Bam, like Macho Man, about a year before, basically revealed that he wasn't going to go with any of them, and he had his own manager, and that was Sir Oliver Humperdinck. Sir Oliver Humperdinck, I should say, who went on to go by other names like Big Kahuna and stuff. And he was Bam Bam's manager. And at the time, he was one of those rare babyface managers, if you will. He's one of the very rare babyface managers, if you will, at that time, alongside Miss Elizabeth. So very rare that you had a babyface manager. But they did talk about how his time kind of came to an end. It was during a main event match at MSG, or one of the featured contests at MSG. He was in the ring with Andre the Giant, and Andre got rough with him. Andre got rough with him to the point that he said something like, "Oh, you're not ready. You're too green." Something like that, and that was enough for Bam Bam to finally say, "Okay, I'm gonna leave and just travel, do other things, if you will." And he did. He went off. He went back to Memphis. He went to Japan. They touched upon that and how he was treated like a gaijin, I believe. That. They showed him in his first appearance with WCW when they were still part of the NWA. And he had Humperdinck as his manager there as well. But what was different is that they were both heels in WCW, NWA, WCW during his first brief run there, opposite of being babyfaces in WWF. But anyway, they showed that. They showed him go back to USWA and stuff. But they also touched upon the fact that when he would be home, he would put his family first. The family would be the first thing on his mind. And that he also wanted to have a daughter, which they did have, and everything. But then they did touch upon him return to WWF and getting a bigger push than before. And they did highlight his main event WrestleMania 11 match with Lawrence Taylor and everything. And that how he got probably one of the biggest paydays he's ever had out of that. And then essentially, after that, they talked about how he left, after it was done, because basically after the Lawrence Taylor thing, they started to slowly turn him babyface, or get basically into that realm of turning him babyface, which they did. And they gave him the suit, which he's, I guess according to one of his sons, he said he looked like a tulip or something, where he would, blow out, where he would basically have these little controls on his hands on the suit, and out would come fire. So they talked about him leaving in '95 and him going to ECW. Now, as far as I know, I think he went to ECW around '96. It wasn't directly in '95. It was around '96, 97. So I think he may have taken time off or something. But they talked about him there, and they talked about his moment with Taz and all that. And Taz was even a little like, joking around of how dirty he felt about kind of telling the secret of how him and Bam Bam did one of the infamous, falling through the ring or ramp secrets, if you will. Basically, they fallen through the ring there when they were in Ashbury Park for, I think, what was it, one of the pay-per-views, Living Dangerously, or one of them, I think. And how when they did that, Bam Bam was asking, was the first thing he asked Taz, when they were out of sight of everybody, when they were out of sight from everybody, the first thing he asked Taz is, "Are you okay? Are you fine?" And Taz is like, "Sure, yeah, I'm good." Anyway, it was during his time in ECW and even during his second run in WWF that, this is where they touched upon him getting a lot of these prescriptions, these, I can't think of the name right now, but these prescription drugs that would keep him going. They would, because, he didn't want to lose his spot. He didn't want to, be cast aside or anything like that. So he would be given these pills by this doctor. And his ex-wife just looked at that doctor like, his ex-wife looked at that doctor like, yeah, you may have been a prescribed doctor to give him these pills, but in reality, you're a drug dealer. That's what you were. And these pills were basically to help him feel better, basically help keep him going because he didn't want to take time off, lose his spot. But it became such an issue for him that, his wife was just like, I can't do this no more, and she left him. She left him and everything, and even the kids were wondering like, well, why can't we see dad anymore, and all that, and it's mainly because of that, because he did not want to give up those pills. Again, I can't think of the name of them, but they were prescribed that would keep him going, because he got to the point to where they would say he barely could, he could barely, get up without being in pain, and all that. Basically like barely make a movement without being in pain, so he had to take these pills constantly. And even DDP, I noticed it a little bit when Bam Bam Bigelow went to WCW and everything. And he was part of the Jersey Triad group and all that. He noticed it there as well. And DDP even mentioned that when he was running another club on the Jersey Shore back in the early to mid '80s, or mid to late '80s, he noticed Bam Bam on the television, going like, "Oh my God, that's Bam Bam! He made it." But anyway, fast forward, and basically he kind of noticed it in WCW as well. Like, again, these pills that Bam Bam was taking was keeping him going. It helped him keep going, and not be in so much pain and everything. And they were prescribed, but it just got to a point to where mentally it was, like physically, well, like mentally, personality wise, it was changing him, but not too much and everything, but just enough to where he would get angry with his wife and all that, and everything, because she particularly did not like this happening. She's like, you could tell that if she had her way, Bam Bam would have gotten help. He would have gotten surgery, something like that. And I think the reason he didn't, in my opinion, because as they said here in this episode, was he didn't want to lose his spot, and he didn't want doctors to tell him that he can't do it anymore, because he was doing things a guy his size shouldn't be doing, shouldn't have been doing at that time. So anyway, basically they talk to the daughter, and she talks about a time where her dad was driving with her, picking up preschool, I think, and he was nodding off at the restaurant. And even though she was like 2 or 3 years old, she could tell something was wrong. So she would, come up with, things to wake him up. It's like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom, pull over, basically get him to pull over so he could go to the bathroom, or stop at a Waffle House or something. And it was like when they stopped at the Waffle House, when basically he got, it was either a Waffle House or something, or someplace, and that's when he got arrested. When he got arrested for basically endangering a child for falling, because he was nodding off. He was nodding off at the wheel. So yeah, that basically was also like the last straw to where his wife was like, that's it, I can't do this no more. And he ended up going to Florida. They ended up divorcing, of course, and he ended up moving to Florida. And his oldest son wanted to go see him and everything, but he didn't have the opportunity to do so. It's like he was off in Florida doing something, his son, but he didn't. It was like spring break or something, but he never got a chance to see his dad. Like, that was one of the main reasons he wanted to go. And it wasn't until, I guess later on that they found out his dad passed away from an overdose, if you will. That he was found dead in his girlfriend in another wrestler's home, or something like that. And it was because of an overdose or something like that. And one of his oldest son, found out when he was, going between classes at college, and all that. The wife found out when the brother, I think it was his brother, or somebody called up and said he was gone. He's gone. So yeah, even though it was even though it was a depressing ending to again see someone that a lot of us grew up with pass away because of drugs, but in this case prescription drugs and everything that his ex-wife basically said was what really did him in. Overall, in my opinion, if you kind of look past that darkness, if you will, it was an overall good episode paying tribute to his career. The only downside was basically the drugs that he was the prescription drugs that he had to that he was taking to keep himself going, because he didn't want to lose his position in wrestling and all that. But outside of that, it was a good episode. Good focus on his career, and I'm really glad I saw it. Tonight they're going to be talking about Bash at the Beach 2000, and I can tell you honestly, I had Bash at the Beach 2000 on VHS. I recorded that event, and I recorded it live. And they're going to be focusing on the Hogan, Jarrett, Russo, Bischoff situation from Bash at the Beach. So yeah, that's what's going to happen tonight. But I just wanted to come on here, give you my thoughts on this, on the recent episode, I should say, of Dark Side of the Ring on Bam Bam Bigelow. Somebody I did grow up on and watch. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below. You will get an audio podcast version of this at BW Rose's Discussions Podcast and all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. But mostly check me out and follow me on Spotify for that podcast where you can listen to this there as well. Also, to check out the Teespring store, guys. We greatly appreciate it if you can help me out there. And check me out at my Patreon for the $1, $3, $5 tier. But guys, until next time, let me know what your thoughts are. If you saw this episode, what did you think of it? And until then, I am out. God bless. Take